What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering. Pretty interesting conversation that started late Friday, went on through the weekend, from the likes of Matt Walsh, Elon Musk, and more about a graph that hit the internet from a recent-ish survey that said young male folks with zero partners, under 30, since they turned 18, zero partners since they turned 18, skyrocketing from 8% in 2008 to nearly 30% in 2018, just 10 years later. A lot of people have an opinion on exactly why this is. I'm going to discuss why I think it's obviously a combination of things. Obviously, the widespread availability of, those spicy videos, certainly part of it. The parasocial relationship with websites like those fans websites, I think, is also part of it. And also, men just checking out, seeing the way that, the deck is stacked against them in many cases with women, men just deciding, you know what, I'd like to keep half my stuff. I'd like to not get, canceled if I put my arm around somebody, or I'd like to, just in general, not have my life ruined. So I'm just going to check out completely. There's some part of that. So see this, holy heck, this is unbelievable. People say alternatively, honesty might be on the rise. Many young women are also choosing to share top shelf men with other women rather than dating a man that's at their level. Top shelf men are out here building harems while women are happy about it, hence situationships. Well, there's that guy who famously did the girl math with dating apps video, where essentially women, are willing to hook up with guys who are out of their league, and it gives them the sense that they are above where they really stand. So then when they actually hit the dating scene, they think their value is too high and they can't ever find a partner. Like, better looking guys are willing to sleep with you, but they're not willing to wife you up, essentially. And there's a lot of guys, good guys in the middle, that they're overlooking, they're ignoring this type of thing, that are feeling out of the conversation. Well, Matt Walsh says a lot of theories to explain this, but it's very clearly like 98% because of spicy videos. Well, I would argue that those type of videos certainly existed way before 2008, VHS, DVD format, but also 2008 is still, high-speed internet. Like, you could argue, okay, smartphones, high-speed internet availability certainly has risen since 2008, but it's not like 1980 or even 1990, where maybe you had dial-up internet and you would wait a half an hour to get one picture. 2008 broadband internet was still pretty available. Pretty widespread. There were obviously plenty of websites to get these type of videos in 2008. So I think it's more complex than that. And John says, it was still ubiquitous before '08. Not like it is now. Matt Walsh says 25% of the country still didn't even have an internet in 2008. Okay, fine. The hub had only just been invented. YouTube was a couple years old. Same for Twitter. It was very early days of the internet. 2008 was not the very early days of the internet. I had a YouTube channel like not that long after that. 2008, the internet was cranking. You had IRC, file exchanges, Kazaa, Napster, all that was way before 2008. I would think 2001. Napster was worldwide, had 1.5 million simultaneously sharing files, most of which was music and prawn. So it wasn't exactly hard to get in 2008, 7 years later. Elon Musk chimes in and says, it's not prawn, which has been readily available from the days of VHS tapes, but rather the general temptation of the online world. Now, this I would tend to lean more towards. If you're going to blame anything blame it on anything electronic, hookups is not what matters. Lots of people are having hookups and no kids. Population implosion will end civilization. Cernovich chiming in. This prom was almost impossible to get, especially if parents were religious. We would find old National Geographic issues at the library. VHS had a plot line that was tame. Believe it or not, college-age men have had hookup issues. That's why Blue Chew is so popular. That's true, and that's probably because of prom. But again, Cernovich is acting like 2008 is 1950. 2008, you could still download whatever you wanted. You see Scott Adams saying for 60% of men, prom is a better experience than their best human female option in 2024. It's also faster, safer, and more economical. People have become less attractive to each other in a major way, now including a political affiliation, obesity, low T, mental health, all sorts of stuff like that. I think all of these people are right. Prawn is part of it, but it's not everything. Matt Walsh continues to say, it's been available for many decades, but not even as close as accessible, ubiquitous, and widely viewed as it is now. That's fair. But again, 2008 is not 2000 or 1998. Just as one small data point, Playboy at its peak sold 7 million copies a month. The Hub, just one website, gets something like 15 times as many visitors per day. Way more people are consuming it today, way more often, starting at younger ages. And the videos itself is far more, debased, just no comparison. And that's fair. That's fair. The industry's doubled since around 2007 when iPhones and the Hub first launched. There's the industry's revenue up to $125 billion. You see a lot of people say, about 50% of men have hooked up actively before reaching the age of 18. It's therefore worth noting that any 18 to 30-year-old who has had an experience of 17, but not after 18, would be classified a virgin in this study. So this is what the actual study is. This came back out in July of 2023. That's what everybody's cherry picking this chart. New study reveals that it's young male virginity on the rise. Well, if you're like me, your first experience was before you were 18, something like 15, 16. I think girls on average, it's like 14 or 15. So by this very study, it's like, have you hooked up after the age of 18? Well, no. But you might have hooked up in high school, so you're not actually technically a virgin. But it's worth talking about on a larger scale. Not rising for the reason that incels claim. Look, I think that here's what it says. Do a few alphas dominate the entire bedroom economy? It's not even assuming that GSS data is correct. We can ask if another piece of the incel narrative is true. Do a few Chads and Stacys really monopolize the market for hookups? Many people quote the rule of thumb that 20% of men have 80% of the bedroom activities. Is that true? As it turns out, the answer is no. And of course, it isn't. Imagine how much hooking up those 20% of men would have to be having. A substantial share would need to be doing 2-a-days on a regular basis to maintain that kind of share. In reality, according to the GSS, the top 20% of the most attractive never married young men have about 50 to 60%. Well, that's not that much better. They're still having more than double the available. So I don't know if that necessarily debunks it, The rise of voluntary celibacy. Most of the hookups I've had, I wish I never even bothered. This is, by the way, women on this side. Doctors warn that U.S. is barreling towards the same fertility crisis as Japan, where 1 in 10 men in their 30s are still virgins, and a third of women will be childless. Well, that's because, birth control, no responsibility. You can be a girl boss. I mean, feminism is why that is. Japan's birth rate in 2020 was 1.34 births per woman, down from 1.5 in 1992. U.S. birth rate is just 1.6, its lowest level recorded since data was first tracked in 1800. Why do you think that is? That's feminism. And the hyper hookup culture. Is there a quote unquote unfair advantage at the top for Chads and Stacys? Yes. There always has been, except that the gap has gotten far larger now with hookup apps because they're gobbling up. Some of these guys and girls are having 2-a-days, 3-a-days. Okay. The other thing is, men are getting more informed on their own rights, and they're looking at, no fault divorce. They're looking at the way the family courts treat men. They're looking at all sorts of stuff like this, and they're checking out. Like I've said, I know several men who I think are ultra high value, who are friends of mine, that are just not interested in a relationship. Not interested at all. And no, they're not into other men. They're just happy with what they have. We have the rise of AI relationships. We have the rise of the parasocial relationship with OnlyFans, all this kind of stuff. Japan announced this week that as many as a third of 18-year-old women may never have a child due to a hookup recession. Boys, time to move to Japan. And it has plagued the country for decades. 1 out of every 10 Japanese men in their 30s is still a virgin. And the country's fertility rate has plummeted to 1.5 in 1992 to 1.3 in 2020. The lack of babies being born is already having real-world impacts. Japan's economy has stalled and caused the country to lose its place as an economic superpower. Experts warn that the U.S. is barreling towards the same fate, with fertility rates as a historic low and an increase in relationships that do not involve any behavior in the bedroom. You can see the population growth, percent change here. And then if you look, if their stupid social thing wasn't over this, at this point, births and deaths are almost intersecting, which means then you're going to have your decreasing population. What are all these people talking about? We have too many people on the planet. That's just scientifically untrue. There are financial activity. There are nothing in the data that suggests the trend is going to reverse itself anytime soon. Dr. Philip Levine, professor at Wesley College in Massachusetts, said. He added that the financial incentives, such as those promised in Japan for families with 3 or more children, are unsuccessful at significantly raising a country's birth rate. And we may have to learn to live in a world in which birth rate is low. In January 2023, Japan increased its financial incentives and offered 1 million yen per child to families who moved out of Greater Tokyo. It topped an existing relocation fee of 300,000 yen. It's too early to tell if that will help. I mean, I don't think people have kids for the money, although you could say maybe in the welfare community that's true. But I think that there is a combination of men just checking out completely, just deciding, hey, I don't want anything to do with women, and I don't want anything to do with hookup culture. I don't want anything to do with, being canceled, getting Me Too'd. I don't want people calling me a weirdo for going up and talking to women. This is all essentially because of feminism, internet, parasocial relationships. It's a combination of things. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you haven't yet, please do subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk to you again real soon.